Okay, short video. Maybe. This was so refreshing. This was amazing. Got my microphone plugged in, everything. Yeah. Morning, everybody. First light. I mean, the very first faint light is in the sky right now. And yes, I went to bed with my hair wet. So, there you go. This was really good. Daddy has been teaching me, Daddy, Big Daddy, the Most High, the Father of Yeshua or Jesus. In case you never watched any of these videos, I just want to make sure you understand when I say Big Daddy, he's big and he's my daddy and he is above all else. He sent his son to come here and do what he did, and his son did what he did. So we now have access to them. We can go, those of us who turn our hearts toward them, we can actually go in and sit with them and be tutored privately by them so that we can have access to the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, the wisdom of the Father, coupled with understanding. Wow. So, I'm sitting with them, and Daddy was telling me how important it is and how we just skipped over this verse. Seek first his kingdom of rightness, his kingdom of the right ways. His ways are above our ways. His thoughts are above our thoughts. To have access and to know and to walk in his ways and his thoughts, we have to go into the secret place. It's a wonderful place. And all you have to do is turn your heart toward Daddy and say, I want this. So I'm in there, and he was teaching me how important it is and how few people actually do seek first his kingdom, his right ways. He said most people don't even realize how blessing the bad things can be. What a blessing the bad things can be. See, with this, we don't understand, but with their understanding, I understand. So, sitting there, and I said, give me an example of that. He loves it when his little children ask him questions. He loves it. Loves it. So I'm asking him, I'm like, Daddy, well, give me 2 or 3 examples of that. And the first example he brought up was, remember when Joseph was carted off to Egypt, and he was basically sold as a slave, and he went through all the things he went through, ended up in jail, wrongfully accused, and won't get into all those details, but eventually Paro had this dream, and none of his magical men could figure it out and give the interpretation, and somebody in the court with Pharaoh said, oh, I know a guy that can interpret dreams, and I won't get into that. He's in jail. Matter of fact, he runs the jail. So they called for Joseph and get him all cleaned up and his hair cut and shaved and everything, bring him before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said, I've had this dream. Actually, I've had 2 dreams. Nobody can tell me what they mean, and I hear you can interpret dreams. And Yosef said, I'm paraphrasing, only Elohim has the ability to interpret rightly dreams. Understand that, Pharaoh. But as one of his little children, I'll call on him. I'll turn my heart to him to get the interpretation of these dreams and the understanding that goes with the interpretation as per what we should do with the interpretation of the dreams. And the dreams were, there were 7 ears of corn. There was this corn stalk came up, had 7 ears of corn on it, and it was awesome. Wow, it was just amazing. Can you imagine 7 huge, beautiful ears of corn on one stalk? It was wow. And then this other stalk came up of corn, and it had 7 really bad ears. They were terrible ears of corn. They were blighted, they were nasty, they were molded, they were mildewed, they were chewed on by bugs, they were yuck. And basically, and then there was another dream that was like it. 7 cows came out of the Nile River, and they were the best looking cattle stock you've ever seen. They were just amazing, healthy, full, fat, wow. And then 7 more real weak, sickly cows came up out of the Nile and ate the 7 good cows. So anyway, the interpretation was, Daddy said, Daddy. Yosef, I don't think he said Daddy. Elohim says, here's the interpretation. The 2 dreams are one. They're one and the same. The 7 good ears and the 7 good-looking cows are 7 really plentiful years that are coming. The 7 bad ears and the 7 bad cows that just eat up the good ears and the good cows, just destroy them, that's 7 years of extreme famine. So, then he goes with a plan. Here comes the understanding. So, I would suggest to you, Pharaoh, that you get somebody and put them over the operation of, over the next 7 years, build up storage places and store a lot of grain, at least 20% per year. And we store up a lot of grain so that when the 7 years hit, we as a nation, Egypt, will be able to dole out, and we'll have supervisors over people and under supervisors, and we'll just develop this business system of reaping, storing, and doling out so that our people and our animals don't die during the 7 years that are coming up, because it's going to be really bad. Now, Daddy reminded me of that scenario, and he said the 7 years of bad were a bigger blessing than the 7 years of good. I'm like, what? we think, well, the first 7 years, that was a blessing, and the 7 bad years was a curse. Daddy said the 7 bad years were more important as far as blessing than the first 7 years. The 7 bad years because one man turned his heart toward me. The 7 bad years provided the wherewithal, the resources, so that Egypt had the only food in the entire Middle East. So all the nations and people groups around them had to eventually come bring their gold and their silver just to buy a little bit of food for them and maybe some of their animals. So Egypt ended up over this 7-year period with all the gold and all the silver. Where did that gold end up? If you know. It ended up coating the Ark of the Covenant. And the seat of mercy. That every year up until Messiah came, the blood of the Lamb was sprinkled on. That's where some of that gold ended up. So the 7 bad years, enabling Egypt to amass and gather in all the gold from the entire region, all the silver, because what good is silver and gold if you can't eat? They brought all their gold and all their silver eventually. Egypt just vacuumed it all in and had it in store, so that when 400-ish years later the Israelites were led out, they took that gold and silver with them. So the 7 years of famine were a much bigger blessing than the 7 years of blessing. The years Yosef spent in the prison, wrongly charged, were very important in him eventually standing before Pharaoh and giving him the word of the Lord. Without the prison sentence, wrongly charged, none of this would have happened. Bad things, all things, work together for good to those that love Big Daddy and are his called out ones according to his purpose. He needed a lot of gold in that tent, but especially a lot of gold to build that ark and that seat of mercy. Wow. Don't you love the well message of the kingdom? Man. Sorry for my hair. See, this is a byproduct. When you go up in there and you sit with Big Daddy and Yeshua and the Spirit, and you just kind of like, being in there, and all of a sudden you hear these things. Let me tell you, you don't need to go to a conference to be fed. You don't need to go to a conference, not saying anything bad about conferences, but you don't have to do that. You can just, you can have you can have a conference with Big Daddy every single day. Wow. Or you can spend a lot of time and a lot of money going to a conference. Not speaking against conferences. Don't get crazy. Or you can spend a lot of time and a lot of money going to a conference and hearing somebody else's revelation that they got in the secret place. Why would we want to do that? And yet, We do, we do that. Why do we want to do that? When he's made it available for us to walk through the door, Yeshua said, I'm the door, walk through the door into the secret place to sit with them as Big Daddy's little child and just, wow, hear wonders and wisdom coupled with their understanding. And you get stuff like, the 7 bad years were a bigger blessing than the 7 blessed years. You know? You with me? Woo, let me go. It's getting light outside. I got to get these dogs rolling. Major, you ready to go outside? What about you, Tanya? Tanya. That's her name.